breaking down the Chicago Bears 2025 draft class in as quick of a video as I can. I'm going to give the strengths and weaknesses for every pick and talk briefly about what I expect out of each rookie we drafted and what they bring to the roster. I now present you the 2025 Chicago Bears draft class, starting with tight end Colston Loveland. This is a pick that honestly stunned me. Mostly just due to his shoulder injury, a lot of us believe that Ryan Poles probably would veer away from drafting a guy coming off an injury, at least in round one. But honestly, he fits this roster a lot better than Tyler Warren did. And for those still clamoring for the other tight end, let it be known that the Colts GM, Chris Ballard, the guy who drafted Tyler Warren, actually preferred Colston Loveland. It was also widely reported that multiple teams were furiously trying to trade up for Loveland before the Bears took him. The biggest point I can make is this guy is an offensive weapon and he fits the new age passing attack in the NFL. He's not just a tight end. He's a pass catcher and a chess piece on offense who can line up all over the field. He's a dynamic receiving threat and a former basketball player who specializes in high pointing the ball and plucking it out of the air. He has rare body control and great concentration skills. He can also stretch the field, and he's a playmaker that Caleb Williams is going to love. 1,400 yards, 11 TDs, and a national championship at Michigan. He did suffer from absolutely terrible quarterback play in 2024, but if you look at his 2023 tape, it better showcases what he brings to the NFL. He did, however, showcase his blocking skills this last season. A lot of people have said he's a bad blocker, and I'm starting to believe it's a narrative. You don't start for the Michigan Wolverines and win a national championship with Jim Harbaugh if you can't block. So while Loveland is undersized to take on NFL defensive linemen one on one, he can help with chips and duo block very effectively. One of his sneaky best traits, though, is his downfield blocking when he gets to block guys who are smaller than him, linebackers and DBs. And when you watch any of Michigan's long touchdown runs, you almost always see Colston Loveland at the second level sealing off linebackers and DBs and opening up holes in the running game. He does need to add more strength and get better as a blocker overall, but he profiles as an immediate impact player for this offense. His receiving skills and size are going to make him a threat down the middle of the field and in the red zone. This is Ben Johnson's new toy, a dynamic receiver that he's going to move all over the offense and is actually going to help as a blocker as well. But this pick had Ben Johnson written all over it. Next in the second round, we took the best player available, Luther Burden, the star wide receiver prospect out of Missouri, who probably would have been a first round pick if he came out in 2023. I think he would have been the fourth or fifth receiver off the board, but he could have even went as high as Rome Odunze. That is how talented he is. Having both Odunze and Luther as long-term options ensure that Caleb Williams is going to continue to have targets going forward in this offense. This guy's a highlight reel machine, and he's made as many impact plays as anyone in the nation over the last couple of years. His 2023 tape was much better than 2024, and I wish he ran routes like he ran with the ball, but he has as much upside as almost any player in this entire draft. To me, he was an absolute steal in round two and easily the best player on the board. He's built like DJ Moore or Debo Samuel, but he's even faster and more explosive and might be a better athlete than either of them as well. He forced 50 plus missed tackles and had 21 TDs over the last 3 years. He was one of the better receivers in the nation in 2023. 86 catches, 1,212 yards, and 9 touchdowns playing at Missouri. But 2024 tape is harder to watch due to a lot of inconsistency in his QB play. He still had over 670 yards and 6 touchdowns. This guy has incredible hands, and he routinely plucks the ball out of the air. He has a career 85.9% catch rate and some of the best ball tracking skills I've ever seen from a receiver. I've heard people call him a diva, but I don't really buy into that. He does need to give more effort at times as a blocker and run better routes when he's not the primary target. But Ben Johnson is the perfect coach to get that out of him. No block, no rock. There's going to be a competitive mentality in our receiver room. With DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Romo Dunze, and 7 others, plus the talent we have at tight end, there's no time for anyone to be a diva here. That goes for DJ Moore and Luther Burden. If you aren't blocking and hustling, you probably won't be on the field. Our wide receiver room is legit loaded with talent. Burden has all pro upside, and he has all the tools to be a number one receiver. He will make an instant impact out of the slot, but he's going to move all over the offense and even take handoffs and jet sweeps. He's a legit threat to score every time he touches the ball. Our second of the three picks that were made in the second round is Ozzy Trapilo, and that is how you pronounce his name. Pretty easy, like a pillow. But he's a mammoth tackle prospect who played on the left and right side at Boston College. He's smart, tough, violent, athletic, and just a giant tackle prospect. He understands leverage, uses his hands and size to his advantage, and he can anchor with anyone in college football. His strengths is off the charts for his age, and he plays with a mean streak. He loves to finish tackles and pancake his opponents. He didn't have a single penalty in 2024 in 772 snaps. He has the footwork of an NFL tackle. Even with his massive size, he's like a dancing bear who can stonewall defenders, he can mirror guys, and he recognizes stunts constantly. He does need to continue developing his technique against speed rushers. He can be inconsistent at times as a run blocker, but he easily moves people off the line of scrimmage. Like most offensive linemen, though, he does need to be more consistent with his pad level. An interesting note here, Ryan Pohl's dad actually played with Ozzy's dad at Boston College, and Ozzy's dad threw the key block for Doug Flutie's legendary Hail Mary TD pass way back in 1984, and he went on to play in the NFL with the New Orleans Saints for 5 years. Here's my take on Trapilo. Anyone who wants a left tackle with more anchor than Braxton Jones, this is your guy. I've heard a lot of people say he's a right tackle only, and I disagree with that. I think he can play on the left or right side. He played left tackle as a true freshman at Boston College, and he showcased his NFL traits. Also, his anchor strength is ready right now. He might struggle against elite speed rushers early on, but knowing that, I'm sure Ben Johnson will have a running back or tight end that can help him chip, and then boom, he's the left tackle in the NFL. But another interesting take here, he shares a ton of similarities with Lions Pro Bowl left tackle Taylor Decker, the guy that Ben Johnson had in Detroit. Now, I'm not comparing him talent wise, but let's just look at the size and athletic profile. He's a half inch taller and he weighs 5 more pounds, but he has a really similar build, similar arm length, similar hand size, and wingspan. They also ran almost identical 40-yard dashes and had very similar reps on the bench press as well. Ozzy had 2 more reps than Decker. On top of that, Trapilo's a bit more athletic as well, but he does share a very similar size profile that Ben Johnson has already worked with. This is something intriguing to watch going forward. I think he's going to compete with Karan Amagaji for the swing tackle job, and he could even challenge for the starting job if Braxton is slow coming back from his offseason ankle surgery. Something to watch at the left tackle position. And then the third of our second round picks, a fourth impact player, defensive lineman Shemar Turner. This pick has Dennis Allen's name written all over it. Turner's an explosive, powerful, and versatile defensive lineman. This guy plays with violence, maybe too much violence at times. He got ejected from a game for throwing punches at an Ole Miss offensive lineman, and he's been flagged 7 times for personal foul penalties over just the last 2 seasons. But this is a guy with first round talent, and if he can control his aggression while continuing to develop, he'll be a really good player in the NFL. Despite the way he plays, he's a great teammate and he will do whatever coaches ask of him. He's one of only 5 defensive linemen in the country who played 200 plus snaps at every spot on the defensive line. He's versatile and he will move around. But his selflessness was on full display in 2024. He came to Texas A&M as an edge rusher. Even though a lot of people think he's a D tackle, this is a guy who's been an edge rusher. And when you look at the 2023 tape, They had Shemar Stewart on one side and Shemar Turner on the other at edge. Stewart, the guy who got picked in the first round, only had 1.5 sacks. But Shemar Turner, the guy we took in round two, had 6 sacks on that same defensive line. More in one season at defensive end than first round pick Shemar Stewart had in his entire career. But after having a good season at edge in 2023, he moved inside to defensive tackle because Nick Scoreton transferred from Texas A&M to Purdue. Not only did he move inside, but he added 30 pounds of muscle in the offseason, bulking up to 290 pounds while also maintaining his explosiveness. Even though he only had 2 sacks this year, he was double teamed a ton and he was always in the backfield. His tape and production were better than his teammate and first round pick Shemar Stewart the last 2 years. Something to keep in mind here, he added 61 pressures and 8 sacks in his career. He's explosive, powerful, and versatile. He also played through a stress fracture in his foot in 2024, and he had to pull out of the Senior Bowl because of this. He's had more time to recover than Abdul Carter has, and he should be ready well before training camp. His statistics don't really show how disruptive of a force he can be on the defensive line. This is a guy who drew the most double teams on that defensive line that also featured Shemar Stewart and Nick Scoreton. He does need to expand on his pass rush moves, and I honestly see him more as an edge rusher in the Bears defense. His run defense at defensive tackle needs a lot of work, but as an edge rusher, he just needs to continue developing. I think he'd benefit from just playing one spot, but I think he's going to start out as a rotational guy and he's going to move all around the defensive line. This looks like Dennis Allen's new chess piece as a pass rusher. I think he's better than most people think. And then we get to our day three picks, led off by linebacker Ruben Hyppolite. This is a speedy playmaker who flies all over the field. He ran a 4.42 40-yard dash, and he has sideline to sideline range, great instincts, and a nonstop motor. He's always in the backfield and has a ton of upside. He made 236 career tackles, had 13 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. He also added a pick six. He does need to develop his pass rush moves, but he offers a lot of upside as a blitzer and a situational pass rusher as well as a Sam linebacker. I think he's a developmental prospect who needs to add bulk and muscle in the NFL. However, for anyone looking for who might fill the void left by Jack Sanborn, although I wouldn't rule out Noah Sewell just yet, I believe this was Dennis Allen's pick to be our new Sam linebacker, and he could get on the field early in his career. I think a lot of people are overlooking this guy, but he has all of the traits to succeed in the NFL, and it sounds like he's going to get an opportunity to play early on. Keep an eye out on our new linebacker. Then we get to corner Zay Frazier from UTSA. This is a tall, lengthy cornerback with blazing speed. He runs a 4.36 40-yard dash, and he had 6 interceptions in 2024. He has the size, length, and speed to be a starting corner in the NFL, but he will need some development. He excels in press and man coverage, but he has the ability to play zone as well. He has great hands and is a former wide receiver who can make plays on the ball in the air. He also has the closing speed to break on plays and jump routes, and he's capable of taking a pick to the house. He's also willing to come up and play the run, but he's inconsistent as a tackler. He can also be over aggressive trying to jump routes, and it makes him occasionally susceptible to double moves. He also got flagged a few times for pass interference as well. He's a developmental prospect with a ton of talent. He only has 10 career starts, and he needs to add more strength, but he has intriguing upside to eventually be a starter. He's only played football for a few years. He grew up playing basketball, but some of his skills translate on film. A bonus, though, here, he matched up one game this year against Matthew Golden in college, the Packers' first round pick, and he did a great job against him in coverage. He was all over him and held him to just one reception for 10 yards in coverage. Golden finished that game with only 3 catches for 34 yards. Now, Texas would win the game big, but Matthew Golden got shut down. His traits make him a really intriguing high upside corner, but also he's a guy that Al Harris personally identified as someone he wants for this defense. Ryan Poles said Al Harris was texting him about Frazier back in January right after he got hired. This is Al Harris's developmental corner. Keep an eye out on this guy. And then, even though I made quick videos on the last two draft picks, I will give my quick takes for them and then talk about the overall draft. First, Luke Newman, the versatile interior offensive lineman who can play either guard spot or center. He showcased his versatility during the Shrine Bowl this year. He was one of my standout offensive linemen. He was a 3-year starter at left tackle for Holy Cross before transferring to Michigan State and moving inside to guard. This guy is durable, starting 49 consecutive games and only allowing one sack over his last 1,500 snaps, playing both left tackle and guard. He also only had 2 penalties this year, and he has a ton of athleticism, scoring a 9.69 on his RAS score. Athletic, powerful, smart, and he plays with some nastiness in his game as well. He has intriguing upside as a developmental interior prospect. I think he's a guy who could come in and challenge Ryan Bates for a backup role and will provide more depth on the interior of this offensive line. And then we get to Kyle Monangai, a workhorse type back out of Rutgers who is capable of being a starter early in his career. He was a team captain at Rutgers. He's a powerful and compact runner with really good contact balance. He's also really shifty and breaks a lot of tackles, but his best trait might be his ball security. He's never had a single fumble in 707 career touches, and he runs with a ton of power, wears defenses down, and he always falls forward and finishes his runs. This is a durable guy who played through multiple injuries and was very productive in college. He's also an effective pass blocker, but he does lack that breakaway speed. He's kind of similar to David Montgomery in a lot of ways, but he did hit 21.95 miles per hour during his 40 and is coming off of back-to-back 1,200-yard seasons. He also forced 66 missed tackles this year and added 862 yards after contact. Some people say he can't catch, but he was underutilized as a receiver and has 0 career drops. He also added 18 explosive runs this year, and I see him as a guy who could serve as the thunder to DeAndre Swift's lightning. But the Bears also got 2 extra picks in this draft from trading down. They recouped a 4th-round pick in 2026 with a smooth move on day 3 by Ryan Poles. Not only was the trade a big win in value, but we also recouped the pick that we traded for Joe Thuney. That was an underrated move in this draft. But overall, this was easily the most surprising draft class in the Ryan Poles era. I'm not out here trying to overhype guys. I spend so much time studying tape, reading reports, and writing up my takes on these guys to let you know what positive traits they bring to the team and what our scouts and coaches potentially saw in them. Grading drafts this early is honestly pretty silly. You can't really grade a draft until 3 years out. Think about the 2021 Bears draft. The last time the media dubbed us as the best draft in the NFL, at least by the media consensus. Yet here we are 4 years later, and not a single player from that draft got a second contract with the Bears. Or you can even just look at social media. Go look at the comments when we drafted Kyler Gordon or Darnell Wright. Thousands and thousands of comments from fans about how we should have drafted this guy. This was the worst pick ever. Fire the GM. Just remember, a lot of fans are more mad that we didn't draft who they wanted and usually don't take the time to get to know the players we actually picked. I love this draft class. It definitely did not go how I expected, but Ryan Poles does the one thing that I love most about any GM. He drafts based on value and he trades back and collects extra picks. That is the kind of GM I've wanted my entire life. This draft to me was about Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, and taking the best player available. As mad as some fans are right now, I think we could have potentially landed 4 or 5 future impact players here. Coming into the draft, I wanted 3 impact type players. Time will tell if these guys work out, but I think all of these picks have the upside to be long-term contributors in Chicago. I expect at least 3 of them to have immediate impacts this season, and maybe even 1 or 2 more. This offense is going to be so explosive. I remember talking all last season about how we've never had this many weapons on offense. And now we've upgraded from Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett to Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, while also completely rebuilding the interior of the offensive line with Pro Bowl caliber players at every position and bringing in another guy to battle at left tackle. I am honestly shocked at how much talent we have on this offense. Luther Burden is my favorite pick of the draft, but I expect Colston Loveland, Shemar Turner, Ozzy Trapilo, and Kyle Monangai to all make immediate contributions this season, and others have upside as well. I'm going to be in the film room breaking down all of these prospects in depth over the next month as we prepare for OTAs. But I wanted to give you guys quick breakdowns on all of the prospects we drafted and give you my favorite pick. Let me know in the comments who your favorite pick is and what your overall thoughts on this class were. I appreciate everyone who watches. Special shout outs to everyone who hung out with me this weekend. I am losing my voice, so it's time to wrap this one up and get some rest. Please share this video with your Bear fan friends. Remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. And until next time, bear down.